On 30th May 2024, on the island of Sriharikota, with the test flight of the world's first 3D printed rocket engine, Agnikul made history. There is a statement that Indian venture investors do not invest in technology and innovation, and there is some truth to this statement. But there are winds of change. India is now starting to see deep tech focused venture funds emerge. In 2024, Pixel raised a $24 million Series B. It is a hyperspectral imaging company. ePlane, which is an air taxi business, raised a $14 million Series A. In this week's breakdown, I came across an incredible report from the investment team at Special Invest. This 120-page report helped us understand deep tech in India, both the past, the present, and the future. Let's get right into it. I want to take a second before we jump back into this video and give a shout out to Zerodha. The Breakdown YouTube channel is part of Zerodha's 01 Media Network, which provides us with the resources to put together this high quality research material, right from the fact finding to the pre-production, post-production edits that you see to put together this fantastic piece of content. Thank you so much to the team at Zerodha. Back to the video. Let's try to understand what is meant by a deep tech company. The answer comes from a framework called Pasteur's Quadrant. Pasteur's Quadrant tells us that a deep tech startup is a business venture that is focused on three things. Number one, it is leveraging some fundamental research or scientific or technology breakthrough, including something which may have yet to be proven out even in a laboratory. There is some pathway to commercializing this breakthrough or potential breakthrough. A deep tech venture is not a not-for-profit venture. It is very much a for-profit venture where the goal is to take a piece of technology or science IP and commercialize it. And point number three is that a deep tech venture should address some fundamental challenge which is faced by humanity. What is an example of a deep tech venture, Agnikul, that we've spoken about a few times? The core technology IP is the ability to do a 3D print in one piece of a rocket engine. What challenge for humanity is this looking to solve? It's looking to reduce the cost of taking payloads into space, to reduce the cost of developing rockets that can go into space. Arjun Rao gave me a very nice explanation for what have been the four stages or four waves of technology in India. Wave 1 was when India was an outsourced or dev shop. You've all heard of TCS, Wipro, Infosys. Those are wave 1 Indian tech companies where our job as a nation was to provide labor, smart people who were able to build custom applications which were required in the West for their own progress and development. Wave 2, the Global Capability Center GCC wave, was driven when the product managers or the business owners were still based out overseas, but they were now farming back work that was slightly less service in nature, slightly more product development in nature. Wave 3 has been the last 15 years for us, which is X for India, which is, by the way, another thing people make fun of Indian startups for, which is copycatting the West. We built Amazon for India, Flipkart, PayPal for India, Paytm, PhonePe, etc. Wave 4 is the wave that the investment team at Special and many other venture investors are most excited about. This is the era of deep tech, which is deep IP and fundamental research-based innovation that is being commercialized to create new businesses. Wave 4 is why now is the time for deep tech in India. Now the question is, how is a deep tech business different from a normal startup? Across multiple rounds of financing, a deep tech startup still has an element of technology risk which is unproven. The best example is when you look at the journey that Zepto has been and on the journey that SpaceX has been. 5 years into the journey, a breakout consumer tech business like Zepto is probably on the pathway to IPO in less than 24 months. 5 years in, a deep tech business like SpaceX was just about looking to solve technology risk, which in their case was yet unproven. A Series A financing in a deep tech business often is still underwriting some element of technology risk, but a Series A in a consumer tech or a non-deep tech business is simply underwriting pathway to profitability in the next 36 to 48 months. The Special Invest report has a very nice diagram that truly explains the 4 different stages of a deep tech venture. The first stage is technology risk, which is typically when a prototype is being developed in the lab or basic research is being done in the lab. The next stage is product development, where there is some form of prototype that is coming together outside the lab. The third stage is the go-to-market stage, where there is maybe 1 or 2 commercial customers who are deploying this product in their business. And the fourth stage is when the deep tech venture is ready for true commercial scale, which is signing tens, 50s, if not hundreds of customers. You will notice that the valuation of a deep tech venture tends to be quite stable as it goes from de-risking technology to de-risking product to de-risking commercialization. There is almost a hockey stick in the valuation of a deep tech venture the day the commercial value prop is proven along with the technology working as promised in the field. Because of these 4 stages, that there are 2 valleys of death in the journey of a deep tech company. The first is that the technology itself doesn't work. That is, technology risk has killed the business. The second is that commercialization doesn't work. Remember that the idea of technology de-risking is to show that the piece of research or the piece of intellectual property works in a lab environment. But what works in a lab environment may not work in the real world. So even if a deep tech venture is able to get through de-risking the technology, sometimes it may not succeed to commercialize. And this is also why deep tech ventures have a much higher probability of failure in theory, but we'll come to a comment on this in just a few minutes. There is this prevalent myth that deep tech is a very long gestation period business. It is not suitable for traditional investors or traditional venture capital investing. Arjun Rao has told me that the data says something otherwise. 3 out of 4 sectors that have a more than 10% probability of generating a company sale outcome of $250 million or more are deep tech, which is space, robotics and drones, AI and defense. This myth that deep tech businesses are not suitable for venture capital is completely untrue. The hardest part of building a deep tech venture is overcoming the technology risk and taking the technology from a lab-based IP to a prototype to an actual product. Even if the business is not able to take the prototype to the live production environment, there is a significant amount of latent value in a deep tech venture which comes from the IP that it has created and the team that it has put together. But in the case where a deep tech venture is truly successful, because of the lack of alternatives, a deep tech venture is able to command high margins, premium pricing, and because of few competitors, it has lucrative acquisition opportunities, and all of these are just not existent in non-deep tech businesses, which makes deep tech investing a high risk but extremely high reward game to play. How does the source of financing for a deep tech startup differ from the source of financing for a regular startup? Grants play an extremely important role in the early journey of a deep tech venture. At the phase where the founders are focused on de-risking technology, which is technology research, 100% of the financial support comes through grants. Once you have de-risked technology and you go into early product or prototype development, it is typically 50-50 of grant and equity financing. As you move further, which is once the prototype is in development and you are trying to go from prototype to product, you move a lot more towards equity financing. And ultimately, if you're able to prove out the prototype and you have the product out in the wild, you need to raise growth capital, and that is where typical debt and equity investors come in. We look at a few examples of how the government is helping catalyze India's nascent deep tech ecosystem. The first example is IDEX, Innovations for Excellence in Defense. Now, IDEX program was launched by the Department of Defense Production, which is a part of the Ministry of Defense. It was started in April 2018, and there is a 500 crore rupee corpus over a 5-year window that would be deployed from 1st April 2021 onwards. As of February 2023, the latest data says that 139 grants have been issued. I work at the venture capital firm DVC. One of our own portfolio companies, InSpacity, has received 2 IDEX grants. These IDEX grants is the Robotics Challenge 10.1 and the Sensing System Challenge 10.2, and these grants are of 10 crore rupees each. At a high level, the IDEX program has 3 parts. Part number 1 is their Defense India Startup Challenge, DISC, which gives 1.5 crore rupees per project, and this is focused on prototyping and development. Then there is the IDEX Prime, which is the platform for rapid innovation and market exploration. This is a 10 crore rupee grant, and this is the one which our portfolio company InSpacity has been given on 2 separate occasions. An important part to note is that these grants are considered matched contributions, which is that the money only gets released for this grant if an equal amount of money is pledged by equity investors. And the final one is the TDF, Technology Defense Fund, which is a 10 crore rupee grant or up to 90 crore of the total project cost. Again, matched contribution. So IDEX is helping catalyze India's nascent defense-focused deep tech startup ecosystem. In the case of India with IDEX, there is a very strong parallel to the USA and DARPA. DARPA is responsible for funding the ARPANET, which is the precursor to the modern internet. It funded GPS research in the 1970s, which is how we find our way around the city every day now. It was responsible for funding the speech understanding research project in the 1970s, which is what has given us voice agents like Siri, Alexa, so on and so forth. DARPA has also played a very important role in Silicon Valley. In fact, without DARPA, Silicon Valley would have remained with its old name called the Valley of Heart's Delight. And this true transformation, not just of Silicon Valley, but the USA and the whole world that DARPA brought about, is hopefully what over the next 20 to 30 years IDEX will be able to deliver for us as a nation. The next example of the government of India pushing deep tech in India is BIRAC. So BIRAC is the Biotechnology Industry Research Assistance Council. It's a non-for-profit enterprise incubated under the Department of Biotechnology. It was started in March 2012, and one of its early successes is a company called String Bio, which is a Bangalore-based startup that is using synthetic biology to convert methane into protein. While IDEX is more focused on funding companies, BIRAC is more focused on enabling the ecosystem that funds these startups or companies. As of Feb 2023, BIRAC has a seed fund partner program called the BioNest Incubator. It's for post R&D stage proof of concepts. 112 startups have got seed funded with about 30 crore rupees that has been invested. There is a Leap Fund partner, BioNest Incubator. This is focused on commercialization. 47 startups have got funded so far. The government is also stepping up to support deep tech in India. In 2024, it announced an additional $125 million for the InSpace program to provide funding, support, and other assistance to space tech ventures in the country. Academic institutions also play an extremely important role in enabling the deep tech ecosystem. IISc Bangalore has been at the forefront of deep tech ventures. In 1991, it created the Society for Innovation and Development. IIT Madras created the Research Park in 2010, and one of their commercial successes over the last few years has been Aether Energy. IIT Bombay has been incubating startups since 2004, and in the last 20 years, 250 companies companies have been incubated. Two of their successful incubatees are IdeaForge, which has IPO'd, and Atomberg Fans, which I'm sure you have heard of. In 2024, IIT Bombay also proposed a 100 crore rupee fund to invest in the companies that are being incubated at the college campus. Why is it important for India's academic institutions and research institutions to engage in the creation of deep tech ventures? The answer to this lies in TTP, Technology Transfer Programs. Now, Technology Transfer Program is a program in which a piece of IP which has been created as part of a research project at an institute is handed over to a startup. If there is a clear TTP process, then there is an incentive for the researchers and the professors to spin out, start their own deep tech ventures. Along with this, TTP provides an additional source of cash flow or revenue for these colleges to build out their campuses or to invest in state-of-the-art facilities which will promote deep tech innovation in the long run. Despite all this, India still has a very long way to go in building its deep tech ecosystem out. One of the most useful metrics for understanding how the deep tech ecosystem in a country is developing is to look at the percentage of GDP that is spent on research and development. For India, 0.7% of GDP is spent on R&D. In China, it is 2.4%. In the US, it is 3.6%. In Israel, it is 5.6%. In India, 60% of our R&D spend comes from the government and 40% comes from non-government sources. In the USA, back in the 1960s, approximately 2.9% of their GDP was spent on R&D and 2/3 of that came from the government. In the 2020s, the USA is spending approximately 3% of GDP, just marginally above where it was in the 1960s, on R&D, but now the equation has flipped in the US. 2/3 private, 1/3 government. So fundamentally, what we are missing in India is private participation in R&D and basic research. And the reason for this private participation lacking is right now a significant part of the corporate profitability is used to invest in physical capex or private physical infrastructure versus investing in private intangible assets like IP, patents, commercial rights, etc. It's obviously a journey that we need to go on as a nation. But over the next few decades, as private R&D spend ramps up, we will see India's percentage of GDP spent on R&D also rise as we make this transition from a developing to a developed nation. While India is the 5th largest economy by nominal GDP, we are the 10th largest by deep tech investments. But I would not lose hope at this point. The bulk of deals are concentrated at the seed or early stage, and a typical deep tech venture takes 10 plus years to mature, and therefore all of the deep tech ventures being seeded today will result in some breakout successes over the next 7 to 10 years. The reason for me deciding to pick space tech for this breakdown series is this image that New York Times published in 2014, almost mocking India's effort to be part of the elite space club. In 2023, we fired Mangalyaan at a cost of 450 crore rupees to reach the Mars orbit. And space is truly where, as a nation, we have a right to win because of the ISRO talent pedigree that has been created since the inception of our nation. RH-75 was the first rocket launched by the ISRO team on 20th November 1967. Since then, we've launched the Chandrayaan-3, which reached the south pole of the moon. And in the last decade, 190 space tech ventures have been created in India. The space ecosystem is broadly divided into upstream, downstream, and auxiliary. Upstream is any venture that is focused on getting objects into space. For example, Agnikul, because it is a launch vehicle. Downstream is any business that is focused on unlocking commercial benefits from having objects in space. And this is where a hyperspectral imaging business like Pixel comes into the picture. Auxiliary is any business that is focused on applications of space technology to other sectors. in India. There are around 150 space tech startups in the last 10 years that have raised a total of $285 million. So India has about a 4% market share in space tech deals, which is almost 3 times our market share in overall deep tech funding. And this just goes to show how space tech is a very important part of India's deep tech ecosystem. My closing statement to you is that it is obviously going to be a very, very long journey for India to build out its own deep tech ecosystem, the way nations like the USA and China have developed their respective ecosystems. However, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a few small baby steps, and India has definitely made those steps. The future is bright for deep tech in India, and I hope that with this breakdown today, you have gone out positive that while deep tech in India is still in its nascent stages, it will one day be one of the larger sectors for innovation and investment in this country. I hope you enjoyed this week's breakdown. Please hit the like button, subscribe, activate the bell icon so that you can get the next updates from us. Thank you. Bye-bye.